Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie Potts, and I'm your host of the Whole Athlete Podcast with a new guest on the show today to figure out ways you can improve performance from the inside out. And Andy is his name, Dr. Marrone. He's a local area chiropractor, and he has a unique treatment that he has at his location in Redmond, Washington. Thanks for coming on the show, Dr. Marrone.
It's absolutely great to be here.
I said Marrone.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. That's great to be here.
Told me Marrone, but some people say Marrone. Of course, I say it the wrong way.
I'm not worried about it at all.
So I found your website and just was interested in your services, and talk a little bit what you do. It's such a different twist onto nutrition and chiropractor versus a typical chiropractor clinic.
Yeah, I take a whole person approach. When I deal with chiropractic, I use what I call the EAT routine: exercise, adjust, and traction. What most people don't know about me is I've been a fitness instructor for over 30 years. And while I do believe in the power of the chiropractic correction, whether that's a traditional manual chiropractic correction or a more modern low-force chiropractic correction, they both work great. But I also like to empower my patients, whether they're athletes or not, with home exercises and things that they can do outside of the office that support what we're doing here in the office. And that office often includes home exercises, the chiropractic adjustment, what we call home traction, and my forte, which is enzyme nutrition.
Got it. So you kind of find the root cause, as I'm trying to do as a personal trainer and fitness studio owner, and I've been a trainer for 25 years. And I keep saying the reason that you can't out-exercise a bad diet, and nutrition is such an important part, as well as I do nutritional therapy practitioner work, getting to the root cause of people's unexplained symptoms. So you're kind of going down a similar route that, we can't just help people training them. There's a lot more going on that we need to look at to really help the person improve and improve performance, as we're going to talk about today.
So let's before we go into the topic of enzyme nutrition, let me give your listeners what I call the keys to the kingdom. And I'm probably going to say this twice because it's that important. It's not just physical activity. We need to eat, move, and think in ways that are sufficient and pure versus eating, moving, or thinking in ways that are deficient and toxic. That is so important that I'm going to say it again so that your listeners can comprehend it, even write it down if they want to. You need to eat, move, and think in ways that are sufficient and pure versus eating, moving, and thinking in ways that are deficient or toxic. One of the things I require when somebody comes to me for my enzyme nutrition services is a consultation before I'm willing to do any testing. And one of the main reasons I do that is because I want to get to know the patient. The enzyme nutrition, without making lifestyle changes, is not going to work. And if I have a patient who is, I just want to take a pill and get better, I'm actually going to send them right back out the door. I need to make sure that my patient is going to do their part, put in good food, move properly, and think positively. Otherwise, there's no magic to the supplements that I sell or the diagnoses that I make or the treatments that I give. It really takes a group effort.
Yes, that's kind of what I've created over the years from my experience. Similar to that is what I call the holistic method, in that we're looking at the nutrition and exercise, but also your sleep and your stress, your movement, your digestion, gut health, your hydration, and happiness, which is, I think, such an important part, as you're mentioning too, being positive, and that mental part of it is huge that I think a lot of people forget about.
Sure. And that leads me into what I call the 6 pillars of health, and I'm going to just list them for you real quick. The first one, of course, is nutrition. Yeah. You mentioned sleep. You need to drink the right amount of water. Your brain and your nervous system need to be functioning properly. You need to move properly, and you need to reduce your stress and manage your stress as much as possible.
Yeah, same. Yeah, we find this out. And how long have you been doing this that you figured this out yourself?
I was lucky because being a chiropractic physician was a second career for me. So, and I was an engineer before I was a chiropractic physician. So I already had an analytical mind. I already had a mind that says, I'm not just going to do anything. I want to know what the research shows.
Yeah.
And so honestly, I did a lot of this research on my own and came up with these conclusions. Now, I do have mentors in my life. One of my mentors is a chiropractic physician by the name of Dr. Chestnut, and he's where I came up with the idea of eating well, thinking well, and moving well. And then another mentor of mine, of course, is Dr. Howard Loomis, who's the founder of the Enzyme Institute of America. But I just, that engineer's brain of mine just is always looking for answers, and it's always looking for the right answers that are based on research and science.
Got it. Yeah, it's like Paul Chek, same thing as that whole movement stuff. So let's dive into the topic today, and that's about this enzyme nutrition. So let's kind of just start with the basics. What are enzymes, and how do we get them, and why do we need them?
That's a great question, and I'm glad we started with that, because most people think of enzymes as just for digestion. There are two types of enzymes in your body, and the first type is digestive enzymes. There are about a dozen of those that can be broken down into three categories: protein-based enzymes, fat-based enzymes, and sugar-based enzymes. And there's about a dozen of those. There are other enzymes in your body that are called metabolic enzymes. And they are what allow your body to complete every single chemical reaction that occurs in your body. And there are over 75,000 metabolic enzymes. So let me give you an example to kind of illustrate the difference between them. Let's say that you're a general contractor and you've been contracted to build a house. Well, in order to build a house, you need lumber, you need drywall, you need shingles for the roof, you need insulation for the walls, and you need all these materials, right? Mm-hmm. So you order all these materials in and you get them in at the warehouse. Now you have to deliver them to the job site, and so you get a delivery person to load them onto a truck and take them to the job site. Once those materials are at the job site, the house isn't going to build itself, right? So your framers need to frame up the house, your electricians need to run up the wiring, your drywallers need to put up the drywall, your roofers need to roof, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let me rewind this example on how that relates to the human body. So if you look at the raw materials for building that house, that is the food that you put into your body. And when those materials get delivered to the warehouse, that is basically you swallowing your food and it entering your digestive system. Now, in order to deliver those materials to the job site, you need the digestive enzymes to be able to break down that food, allow it to enter your body so that the bloodstream can carry it wherever it's needed. Now, once those materials arrive at the job site, the metabolic enzymes are the workers that take those materials and actually construct whatever they need to do out of those materials. So another way of putting it is that enzymes are the only chemical in the body capable of actually doing work.
So we need enzymes, and they just happen, or do we get them, and how do we make enzymes?
So the younger generations, so your body's always making enzymes. However, like everything else, as you age, your body's ability to make those enzymes goes down. But what most people don't realize is by age 40, your body's ability to make those enzymes is reduced by 70%.
Wow, that's a lot.
Now, there are some enzymes that you can get in your food. However, the food companies systematically often remove the enzymes from the food, because what do enzymes do? They break down food or use food, which also breaks it down. So if I have my enzymes in my food, what is my shelf life compared to if I remove the enzymes from my food?
So having live food, not the processed foods, that's dead food.
That's correct. But even some of the live food, they've genetically removed some of the enzymes from them. The other important thing to remember is cooking or freezing food destroys the enzymes that are in there.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So as we age, we're getting over 40, we're kind of hitting that, I find that I'm focusing on more that aging athlete because I'm one myself, and started doing Ironmans when I was 29 years old and marathons when I was 25. That I hate the whole age as an excuse that I'm slowing down because I'm getting older, but I think it is because we have more years on us and things, as you said, we don't make as many things. We do need to supplement a little bit and when necessary to improve our performance and help that recovery time.
Absolutely. And enzymes play a key role in that. So the tissues that need to be repaired, whether you're young or old, are all protein-based tissues. So most people don't realize, let's talk about really quickly how your body uses different nutrients. Just because you eat fat doesn't mean that it becomes fat. Actually, fat should be your primary source of energy. Most people think that carbohydrates are their primary source of energy, but the way the human body is designed, our primary source of energy should actually be healthy fats and not carbohydrates. And if you're going to use carbohydrates for energy, you want to use complex carbohydrates and not simple carbohydrates. So that leaves the question of, what does your body do with protein? Your body uses protein to make things, whether that's muscle, whether that's connective tissue, whether that's DNA, whether that's brain chemicals. Your body does not take protein and use it as energy unless you are starving. So I don't know how familiar you are with a lot of these diet programs that put you on a starvation-based diet. A lot of times, if the person administrating the diet knows what they're doing, and sadly many of them don't, but the ones that do will tell you, yes, you'll lose this much body fat, but you'll also lose this much muscle as well. Are you okay with that? And the reason they're saying that is they're putting you on a starvation diet, and out of desperation, your body is actually breaking down muscle and making cellular energy out of that muscle. But that is not a normal condition, and that's not something I would recommend to anyone. That's why starvation diets don't work. And I just wrote an article on that on my blog at redmondridgenutrition.com. However, your body typically uses protein for building things and making things. And that's why it's so important to an athlete. And a younger athlete wants to continue to gain muscle. And as much as we older athletes, I'm an older athlete too, by the way, would like to gain muscle, the first step for us is trying to preserve what we've got, right? I mean, let's face it. And protein is key to that. But protein, again, is a building material. What does protein need? It needs a worker to take that material and build something out of it. So I work with a lot of athletes using the right enzymes to help their body build muscle and even repair tissue after injuries and things like that.
So were you speaking earlier about gluconeogenesis? There's a lot of talk about that when people are doing these high protein diets or even, fasting, that they might be breaking down protein for fuel because that can be converted into glucose.
Right, exactly. And that's that's actually what most people don't realize is the soreness after a workout is not lactic acid buildup. It's actually micro tears in the muscle. Soreness from lactic acid that's the byproduct of breaking down protein for energy. So that's a common misnomer in kind of the workout world, if you will. I've got too much lactic acid buildup at a great workout last night. Oh, it's not lactic acid, it's actually micro tearing in the muscle. Now, the micro tearing in the muscle is a good thing. The micro tearing heals and your body realizes, hey, this got injured last time. It's a controlled and minor injury, but in order to prevent this from happening in the future, I better lay down more muscle. So it takes amino acids and protein, and enzymes assemble those amino acids in protein into muscle.
Got it. Great information. So if we want to get faster, say I'm, training for a marathon, I've been kind of having health issues over the years, adrenal dysfunction, HP axis, that stuff. So people are similar to me that I know there's a lot out there experiencing adrenal issues. And other symptoms are just unexplained that just don't have the speed and they're not recovering as fast and I just can't run the same pace. But I don't like the excuse as age. I don't think that's the reason I'm getting older, so I'm getting slower, because I know people that are older than me that are getting faster. So I think it's looking at nutritionally, are we not recovering because we're lacking some of the key nutrients that we need, and our mitochondrial need to be looked at in our cell health?
So let me. There's a couple of points I need to hit on there. First, I'm going to back up for a second. So you run and you do Ironman and things like that. My sport is diehard, intense, traditional, and classical karate. My teacher was his grandfather was the last personal assistant to the last Okinawan king, and he taught us his diehard, super intense family private system. Now, when my teacher died at 98 years old, he was 4'11" and weighed about 98 pounds. And up to about 2 weeks before he died, at the age of 98, he could kick my butt 6 weeks to Tuesday. Now, those of you who since you can't see me, let me explain that I am 6'3" and I am 280 pounds, and most of that is muscle.
Wow.
So, obviously, age is not an excuse, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, people always say that, though, and I think they use that as a limiter and not say, okay, what can I do to overcome this lack of speed and rebuilding strength and power and endurance?
Yes. So let me give one piece of kind of free advice to the aging athlete. The research shows that egg protein preserves muscle mass the best as we age. So if you are supplementing with protein and you're doing protein powders or protein shakes, I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend egg white protein if you're the aging athlete.
As compared to whey protein and
exactly, and soy protein and everything else you can possibly think of. There's now chickpea protein as well. Now, not that those other proteins are bad. I want to be clear about that too. It's just the research strongly shows that for some reason egg white protein preserves muscle mass the best as you age. Okay, so let's talk about the aging process for a second, because I don't think most people understand how we age. Depending on the source that you read, every somewhere between 5 and 7 years, you have a brand new body. And that's because the cells in your body don't live as long as you do. But the cool thing is that before each cell dies in your body, it makes a copy of itself. So when it makes a copy of itself, however, it's like photocopying something. It's not perfect. So let's say that you make a photocopy of a piece of paper and you shred the original. And now you make a photocopy of the photocopy and you shred that original. And you keep doing that. If you do that enough times, will you be able to read the print that's on the paper?
Probably
and
not.
The answer is no, because each time you make a photocopy, you lose a little bit of quality, and eventually you've lost so much quality that the document is not readable at all. That's what happens to your cells. Before your cells die, it makes a copy of itself, but it's not a perfect copy. But the original cell that it made a copy from is gone. You can't go back and use it as a reference. So now the copied cell, before it dies, has to make another copy. And of course, that copy is less perfect than the one it came from, right? Mm-hmm. And so the key to longevity, if you will, and health with that longevity is the quality of those cell copies. So there are two issues that you need to address with that. The first one is you want each copy to be as perfect as possible. It will never be 100% perfect, but a 99% perfect copy is certainly a lot better than an 80% perfect copy, right? The other problem is things like stress and adrenal fatigue will speed up how fast your cells copy themselves. So the faster that you have the faster that you have lower quality copies, eventually you're going to pass away. Now, eventually you're going to pass away, but the quality of life and the longevity of that life will depend on the quality and the speed at which your cells copy themselves. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So anytime somebody's trying to sell anti-aging, there's no such thing. It is a multi-billion-dollar business which is basically sold on a false hope. It is absolutely impossible to get a cell to make an exact copy of itself. Now, things that affect your cells' rate of copying themselves and the speed at which they copy themselves are several fold, and one of them is adrenal stress. But I want to talk about adrenal stress for a second, and this is one of the advantages of enzyme nutrition. We have to look for the actual source of stress in the body. So I want your listeners to imagine a kind of a little device that I'm going to build for you over the air here. Take a wooden plank and just drill 4 very small holes in the shape of a square. And we're going to put plastic toothpicks in each one of those holes. And then we're going to put a rubber band around all 4 of those pegs so that we have a square. Does that make sense to everybody so far?
Yep, picturing
so
it.
Now we're going to label each one of these toothpicks, and we're going to label one of them adrenal health. We're going to label the other one men's or women's health or gonadal health, or however you want to call that. We're going to label another one thyroid health, and we're going to label another one digestive health. Now, I want you to take that rubber band in your head, and I want you to pull it or push it in any direction that you want, or multiple directions if you want. Where does the stress go?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. So the purpose of enzyme nutrition is to figure out what the actual source of stress is. Is it really adrenal fatigue, or is stress to your reproductive hormones affecting your adrenals, or is stress to your digestion affecting your thyroid, or vice versa, or the possibilities are absolutely, you can go down any path with those, right? Any number of paths with those. So the question is, are the symptoms that you're feeling, are they downstream from where the actual problem lies? And rather than using a catch-all term, have you noticed now that the new buzz supplement is magnesium? Everybody's magnesium deficient.
Well,
and before it was fish oil, and before that it was probiotics. And I'm not saying that those are bad supplements. They're good supplements, but they're fad supplements. You know what I'm saying? And so rather than,
and then the reishi mushrooms are the next thing coming out.
Yeah, right. You got it. You got it. And after that, it'll be something else, right? And red yeast rice didn't last because it didn't do anything. All the research behind red yeast rice, they used the active chemical in red yeast rice, and I can't remember what the name of the active chemical is, but it's listed in my blog. When they did all the studies, they used 1,000 times more of that active ingredient than is present in red yeast rice to yield the results that they got in the studies. So, unfortunately, red yeast rice ended up being a flop because you can't get that much of the active ingredients from a red yeast rice supplement. It's just absolutely impossible. So, instead of jumping on the supplement bandwagon, and by the way, even if these supplements are good supplements, they're still construction pieces. They're still materials. They still need enzymes in order to work properly.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what in nutritional therapy as NTPs, we do the functional evaluation, hands-on, palpating different reflex points in the body. And some people do muscle testing to find out where is the source of stress, as you're saying, if it's adrenals, or is it the small intestines, or is it the thyroid, where is the stress coming from? And so how do you test that to find out in your clinic, how do you test where the stress is coming from and which aminos they need?
Or more importantly, which enzymes they need in order to use those aminos properly.
Yes.
So I do not do muscle testing, and I want to be really clear, I'm not against muscle testing. But again, it comes from my engineering background. Muscle testing is not scientific. And again, that's nothing against it. If people are doing it and it's working for them, more power to you. I want to make that absolutely clear. I've got no problem with it. I just want to be able to explain to my patients what I do in simplistic scientific terms, and I can't explain muscle testing in simplistic scientific terms. What I do, there are up to 5 tests that we can run in the enzyme nutrition world. Another reason that I do a consultation first is I rarely have to run all 5 tests. Usually I have to run 3 of them, but I've got to figure out which 3 I have to run, and the consultation will help me determine that. So the first one is an online signs and symptoms survey, which has been very scientifically designed. We can use blood work. We don't always need it, but we can use blood work. We also can use a 24-hour urine analysis. We don't always need that. And sometimes we can use a stool sample. Then we do an in-office examination. Now, what we're looking for in the in-office examination is the source of stress in the body. If you have an organ or tissue that's stressed, what is the first thing that happens to that organ or system? So you bump your elbow on a wooden table. What's the first thing that happens to your elbow?
Well, it gets irritated and inflamed.
Inflamed. Inflammation is a cardinal sign of stress. So what I'm looking for is inflammation. Now, when you're looking for inflammation, when you have an injured elbow, what do the muscles around that elbow, what does your tricep and your forearm muscles do in order to protect that elbow?
Inflame.
They inflame, but they also contract.
Oh, yes.
They don't go weak, they actually contract. So, because they're trying to guard that injured joint from further damage.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the signs of inflammation that the medical community doesn't talk about, but it is a scientific sign of inflammation, is muscle contraction. So the way my testing works is I will press different stress points on the body that are scientifically linked either neurologically or through what we call embryology, through how things developed when you were laying in mommy's womb. But we're going to do this 2 different ways. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have the patient fast overnight. So we are deliberately stressing every organ, tissue, and system in your body.
So
and that is deliberate.
How long a fast is that overnight? Because most people aren't eating while they're sleeping.
So,
is it like 12-hour fast or 15-hour?
So if their appointment is at 8 in the morning, I'll tell them nothing after 6, nothing but water after 6.
Okay.
Okay. So we are deliberately stressing every organ, tissue, system, and function in your body. And I'm going to check every one of those points in your body that are related directly to an organ, system, or function. Now, because I've deliberately stressed your body, a lot of those are going to show up as positive, and a positive test means that there's muscle contraction, not muscle weakness, muscle contraction. Then I'm going to have you drink a nutritionally balanced shake that I provide. It tastes terrible. My joke is if I ever give you anything in my office that tastes good, I want you to spit it out immediately because it can't be good for you. When we're going to wait 45 minutes to an hour, because I want to give your body time to utilize the nutrients from that shake, then I'm going to repeat the exact same test over again. Now, most of those stress points are going to go away, right? Because we've provided the nutrition that those parts need. Some of those points are not going to go away, and those are the ones that I'm interested in because I provided the right nutrients to that organ, system, tissue, or function, but for some reason that organ, system, tissue, or function still isn't happy. You see what I'm saying? And it should have been, right? We should have made it happy, and it's not. So I take all the results of all the tests that I've run, and I put them in a 3-dimensional matrix, and that matrix is organized by food groups, plant material, fat material, protein material, and carbohydrate material. It's organized by organs of the body, and then it's organized by functions of the body. So let's say that, blood work, my in-office examination, the urine analysis, and the signs and symptoms survey are all pointing to thyroid stress. And I've got only 2 things that say adrenal stress, and I've got one thing over here that says there's a problem with your skin. Which one am I going to focus on?
Yeah,
the one that's got the one that has the thyroid, right? Because it's got 4. And the other ones only have 1 or 2, right? So it really lights up almost like a beacon where the actual source of stress is in the body. Now, the solution is typically threefold. We will change the patient's diet. what we want to do ultimately is teach the patient how to eat to their own genetic strengths. And the way we do that is we first put that patient on a cleansing diet. Now, it's not a generic diet. There are 8 different diets in the system, and we match the diet to your test results. Then you stay on that diet for 90 days to perform a cleanse. But then after 90 days, you are allowed to experiment. So let's say, and I'm making this up, I don't know how the diet's memorized, but let's say that you're not allowed to eat pineapples on this particular diet that I recommended for you. And you love pineapples and you can't wait to have a pineapple. So you're a good girl and you wait your 90 days, but on day 91, you decide that you're going to have a pineapple. And on day 92, you feel exhausted and bloated and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What does that tell you about pineapples?
You shouldn't have pineapple.
You shouldn't have pineapples. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, if you have pineapples and there's no problem, then great, add them back to your food list. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the diet that you end up on is really going to be one that's totally 100% customized for you. The diet that I put you on is just a starting place which we can use to get there. The second step are the right digestive enzymes, because I want to make sure that the nutrients that are in your warehouse get delivered to the job site, right? And then the last things are the right metabolic enzymes to help the right organs and tissues use those vital nutrients properly.
So you're adding enzyme supplementation then based on their results?
Based on their test results, yes. So I do a radio show as well, and I have a podcast on my website. And again, that's redmondridgenutrition.com for anybody that wants to listen in. And what I say in just about every episode is, do not call me up and do not swing by my office saying, hey, this muscle won't heal, what enzyme should I take? Or, hey, I've got osteoporosis, what enzyme should I take? Hey, I've got this, what enzymes should I take? I'm going to tell you I don't know. And the reason is because our body is interconnected, and the problem could be upstream.
Yes.
And I don't want to treat a symptom. I want to help your body work the way it's supposed to by finding the actual source of stress. Adrenal stress can cause osteoporosis. Digestive stress can cause osteoporosis. Certain medications can cause osteoporosis. How am I supposed to give you a supplement that allegedly deals with osteoporosis when I would much rather find out that your body's not processing calcium properly or protein properly? And by the way, that's another thing most people don't realize is that 70% of calcium is carried by protein. Osteoporosis is rarely a calcium problem. It's usually a protein problem.
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? So
yes.
The other method is, how many people do you know with osteoporosis that are hounding down calcium like there's no tomorrow?
I know. It's a
and that may not be the right. And here's the other scary statistic is women who supplement with calcium are 5 times more likely to suffer stroke, 7 times more likely to suffer dementia, and are more prone to breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's according to the Loma Linda Medical University.
Yeah, that's why I think, it's great what you're doing, because so many people, and I included before I became nutritional therapy practitioner and getting tested on myself, is that we just get trained to get whatever you read and take those supplements, and you just get on board and thinking just traditional medicine, you're doing the same thing. You're just treating the symptoms, not getting to the root cause as functional medicine does. And even I know a lot of naturopaths, I would still go to different ones. And I was trying to figure out what was going on with myself, is that I still get the same thing. I kept, 9 different places I went, and I didn't know what I was looking for, but just an answer, because they all were doing the same thing. Lab results, here's what supplements you need. Not looking at, I'm like, you guys are still not doing it. And then I discovered NDP world, but it is so common out there. People aren't getting to, which is off that's causing the stress, or what do you really need, and what's actually effective.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and I don't mean, and naturopaths are very educated and they perform a valuable service, so I'm not trying to take anything away from them. But unfortunately, so when I was career switching from an engineer, a burned out engineer, and looking to work more with people, I did a lot of soul searching, and I did a lot of career searching, and I sat in with several naturopaths. But I just found that most of them, and nothing wrong with this, but it's not what I wanted to do, were just doing what the medical community does with natural things instead of with drugs. And I just didn't want to I didn't want to go that route, and that's why I became a chiropractic physician. Let me tell you a story about a patient. I'm not allowed to say any names, but I think it'll kind of bring the whole idea of what I do home to you. This patient came in and wanted help. This patient was actually quite young, and was a superior athlete. And she was losing bone density. She was losing muscle mass, and she was all of a sudden having all kinds of problems with her cycle. And the only reason she came was she was worried because her medical doctor had diagnosed her with osteoporosis. And, the typical type A athlete, she's telling me what she read on Dr. Google, and, she's taking this, and this, and this. And I'm just kind of sitting there waiting and listening. And I said, well, we take a whole different approach. I've got to figure out where the source of stress is. Well, come on, you're a doctor. You know that lack of bone is lack of calcium and blah, 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 blah. So I very gently interrupted her, and I said, look, I'm going to give you a choice here. I said, we can end the consult here, and you can continue to listen to Dr. Google and take Dr. Google's advice, and I have absolutely no problem with that if that's what you want to do, and I support you with that. Or you came to me because you've tried all of this stuff, and it's not working. You came for a fresh perspective and a new opinion. If you'd like to hear about that perspective and opinion, I am here to tell you about it. And if you don't, I'm okay with that. I really am. I'm not trying to insult you in any way, shape, or form. But if you're not, then this is not the office for you. She finally listened to what I had to say. I talked to her about how bone density is usually a protein problem and not a calcium problem. I warned her of the dangers of supplementing with calcium, and she was hounding down calcium like there was no tomorrow. After a lot of talking, she decided to undergo testing, and in this particular case, it really was a protein digestion and protein utilization problem. So we put her on a digestive enzyme that was weighted towards digesting protein. So that's the other thing is a lot of people, when they talk to me about enzymes, they go out to the store and they buy a generic enzyme. That generic enzyme is an even balance of 3 of the 4 digestive enzymes. The digestive enzyme, after I do testing, is going to be weighted towards the food groups that you have the most trouble digesting. And yes, it'll have the other things in it, but it's biased towards the one that you're having trouble with. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So she very skeptically followed the program, went on the diet that I recommended for her, and then took 2 enzymes, metabolic enzymes, to help her bones use the protein properly and help her muscles use the protein properly. After about 3 months of treatment, her bone density was back to normal. She was gaining muscle mass again, and all of her premenstrual issues had gone away. Now, why in the world would I want to, and the FDA says I can't claim to treat osteoporosis, and I'm very happy about that, because why in the world would I want to claim to treat osteoporosis when I can accomplish all of that by addressing the source of stress and helping those stress parts work the way they're supposed to work?
Yes, but I think the biggest challenge is people need to be ready to listen, as you said, with this client, and they need to be willing to commit and adhere to your advice to make it work. And that is, people just want the instant pill and get results. Like you said, people just come to your office, still want to get that, okay, just give me the amino acids that I need, not, or the enzymes, but not looking at, okay, I need to follow this food plan, do for, 30, 90 days. We all want results right now, and just, I want to feel better tomorrow, not
right. And that comes from, rightfully or wrongfully, I'm not going to judge it either way, that comes from the ability of, I have a headache, and if I take this pill in about 30 minutes, my headache goes away. But and that has its place. I don't want to get it. My dad's a medical doctor, and I support the medical community in every way, shape, or form. The medical community is phenomenal at crisis care. If you break your arm or your appendix bursts, don't call me. I can't help you. Go to your doctor, and they will save your life, and they will do a phenomenal job at that. But when you want your body to work the way it's supposed to work, you need to see somebody with a holistic mindset and those things, and undoing the years of damage from SAD, which is the standard American diet, which truly is sad, and sitting behind a desk all day long and watching Fox News is going to take some time. So here's the choice. This is the choice I give my patients when they say, well, they want to feel better now. I said, well, you're driving down in your car and the check engine light goes on. And they're like, oh yeah? I said, well, you got two choices. You can disconnect the check engine light, or you can take it to the mechanic and fix the problem. Which do you want to do?
I know.
There's no way I would disconnect that light. I want to take it to the mechanic and fix the problem. I said, and yet you do the same thing with your health.
Every time.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're just disconnecting the light.
Yep. We're disconnected to our own bodies, and we don't want to realize that we have to take that ownership from it and take control. But, we'll go do whatever to our car all the time. It's what I talk about, the oil filter change of your car and the alignment of your car. I mean, your car is a great analogy to use all parts of our taking care of our health from the inside out.
I've got a whole chapter in the book that I'm just finishing up about comparing maintaining your car to maintaining your health. And sadly, most people take much better care of their car than they do of their own health. And that's unfortunately a shame, because your car, while expensive, is 100% replaceable. There's certain damage that sometimes can't be undone. I hate, nothing makes my heart sink more when an elderly person comes into my office with a problem that 20 years ago I probably could have helped them with, and I have to send them on their way because there's too much damage done, and the damage is permanent.
Yeah, I know.
And that's, and it's like you can't wait till it's a problem. You have to be proactive about it, not reactive about it.
Exactly. Well, we're running out of time, and there's a lot more to still talk about. So tell us, you're RedmondRidgeChiropractor.com, and you have... Or
RedmondRidgeNutrition.com. Either one is fine. I do have an online contact us page. If you go to RedmondRidgeNutrition.com, fill out the online form in the contact us section, and I will actually email you a free ebook on health in America. My podcast is also listed on the website. On the bottom, there's a huge banner. It just says, check out our radio show. And if you click there, you can subscribe to the podcast, which is all the replays from all of my radio shows from when I started. And I also have a blog on there where I post research-based articles on health and wellness almost daily. So
great. You're one busy man. Do you have certain days you're in the clinic working with clients, and certain days you're writing and blogging and podcasting?
Yeah, and I teach karate, and I volunteer in the local school system. Somewhere in there I sleep.
Yes. It's like my book I wrote, Life is Not a Race, It is a Journey, and how we have to we like all the type A, overmotivated, gung-ho people, and we still all need to figure out how to organize our time to fit everything in we love to do, because we want to make an impact and inspire others, but
absolutely,
we all have to practice what we preach.
One of the things my life protection arts instructor always taught me is to live in the here and now. And actually there's some Japanese kanji right below my computer screen that I'm looking at right now that reads Makoto no Michi, which means live the path of truth.
Yes, I have this picture, I'm loving this quote, The Living Life by Bonnie Moore, that I just got to hang up by my office because it reminds you of life is not a race, but a journey. And they have a whole saying on there, but I think it's an important part to live your passion and, find your purpose.
Absolutely.
Doing what you love to do. That's great. You found your way, and I look forward to talking to you again and coming up and visiting.
Oh, I would love to have you here at the office. I'll give you a wonderful tour of the office so you can see more about what we do. Thank you so much for having me on your program, and I look forward to that. And maybe we'll reciprocate. Maybe I'll record you for one of my radio shows as well.
Oh, anytime. I love it. It's just fun to share that information out there and help others. So thank you.
Knowledge is power, and it's got to be the right knowledge.
Yes, you got it. Good job. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.